Welcome to the Seriously Speaking podcast, a safe healing space where people share their personal journeys and experiences, telling us how they overcame their traumas and learned to heal. Please welcome your host, LaShawn, who will be your friends on your personal journey to healing.
Welcome to Seriously Speaking Podcast, where we take a journey together. I'm your host, LaShawn, and I would like to thank you all for tuning in to another one of my podcasts. So let's get right to what Seriously Speaking is about for those who are new to my podcast. Seriously Speaking is about bridging both the healed and the unhealed together. And what do I mean by healed? Those who have healed from past traumas, be it early childhood traumas, be it molestation, be it rape, maybe even traumas that you experience from a natural disaster. And what I would like to do is get those individuals who were on their path of healing, who has transformed from path of healing. And I would like for them to share their experiences with those who are currently on their journey of healing and give these individuals support and maybe even some information that can help them understand that they are not alone and perhaps something that can help them to become a better version of themselves by you sharing. And that is what Seriously Speaking is about. A lot of what I like to do is to tackle it from a spiritual standpoint. Spirituality to me is about the individual. Now, religion, and I discussed this on a previous podcast. Religion to me is when a group of people come together to follow a code of doctrine. Awesome. I grew up in an environment that was very religious, but for me, I've always been the type, and maybe it has a lot to do with me being an introvert, but I always like to go within. I like to have time to myself and to think and to process. So for me, spirituality is about you going within to find your peace and your connection to God, one on one, if you will. And so I like to kind of look and give people a different perspective of healing from more of a spiritual standpoint. And one of the number one things you have to do when you're on your path with healing is you need that alone time. If you go and listen to people online or the people around you that talk about the experiences they had when they were trying to heal from something, they were always alone. They had to break off a relationship, leave a job, leave a state, leave a country. They had to go in their closet, if you will, and they had to find their strength to move past those traumas. And you always come out a much better person when you go through those experiences. So I like to look at everything. I like to tackle this from a spiritual standpoint and bringing people together to discuss this. It helps you to understand that once you heal past your traumas, you're now out of that cocoon and now you're that butterfly that have transformed into someone new, something different. And so my process is I would like for you to email me at Syrian underscore speaks at yahoo.com. You emailed me, and let me spell that for you. It is SIRIAN underscore SPEAKS at yahoo.com. You email me, I communicate back with you. I'm in the U.S. Central Time Zone. We set up a date and a time to phone interview with your permission, and I will upload it and I will give our audience a chance to hear your journey and help them to stay encouraged and learn something that they can apply to their lives. And that's what Seriously Speaking is about. And I'm really hoping that someone listening have it in their heart to share their journey so that others can learn, feel inspired by it. Those that who have transformed and healed from their journeys. Share it, and we all can come together and have a community of the people helping one another at this time while we heal. Because the earth, I don't know if a lot of you all are really paying attention to what's really going on. Unfortunately, you cannot find the truth of what's going on when you turn on that television. You just really can't. But I am noticing that a lot of people are putting some really good information online, and you have to start with unconventional way of going by the truth. And you ask the questions. It's just simply ask the question. I remember an aunt of mine would say, asking ye shall receive, seeking ye shall find, knocking the door will be open unto you. And I agree. The only thing we really have to do is ask. And then you start seeking that which you want to know and watch how the doors open for you. So this is what you have to do when you look at what's going on the planet. And it looks as if a form of transformation is going on for the planet. So as above, so below, meaning we too are going through a transformation. But I also believe that we're on a timetable, and it looks as if Earth is saying, I'm going here, meaning up. I'm going somewhere new, and I want you to come along with me. But in order for you to raise to where I am, you're going to have to get rid of some of that density that you have within you, meaning those imbalances, those traumas. So that means you're going to have to do some work on yourself so that you can come along for the ride. So a lot of people have to deal with those traumas so that you can peel away the layers of that onion, so to speak, and begin to move upward in life. I think really soon here, we're all going to be riddled with so many different types of life experiences from a global perspective that we're not going to have a choice but to start going within, healing, and doing better and right by one another, and also the planet. It looks like we're not going to have a choice when you look at the diverse weather patterns, when you look at how people's behaving. Listen, it is hard as it is on this planet at this time, but it is important that you continue to move forward and become a better version of yourself. Now, one of the areas I would like to bring to your attention that I don't hear a lot of people talking about when you're speaking of traumas, and that is arrested development. Now, it goes by a couple of names, of course. Like I said, you have the arrested development, then you have arrested psychological development, and then you have arrested development personality. And they're all the same thing, but it's referred to differently. Now, arrested development can result from, again, a trauma, or maybe even a grief or some form of neglect as a child. Now, it may occur when a child, maybe even preteen or adolescent, is kind of subject to an experience that they are unable to resolve. This sometimes happens due to a lack of nurturing from a parent, or parental nurturing. So if that child does not get that nurturing that they need, that is required, their psychological development may not move ahead. They become stuck in that trauma. So if you experience something that was so traumatic to you at, let's say, 6 years old, you get stuck psychologically and emotionally as a 6 year old. And if it is something that we do not deal with, you can be 40 years old and have the emotional and the psychological intelligence of a 6 year old. And if you look at how we're behaving in the world, you have to start questioning that. And that goes back to going within. We are the problems in the world. I had a conversation with some friends some years ago, and there was a lot of really good points being made. And one of the conversation was, somebody said, Satan actually don't do anything. And everybody was a little stumped. What do you mean Satan don't do anything? It was like, think about it. Satan, what does Satan do? Smile, talk, and manipulate. Did Satan arm Hiroshima back in the day? I think that was man. One man, the human being who actually did that. And so it becomes a choice at some point. You let that devil whisper in your ear. If you make the choice to listen, then that's on you. That's on us. It is our behaviors. It is our choice that got us to where we are today. It is us. We pay for food that is given to us for free by the earth. We pay for water that is given to us free by the earth. We have to take that loss, that L. We decided to do that. They just came along and said, hey, let's put this in a grocery store. And why don't y'all start doing that? We could have simply said, nah, we'll keep farming. Earth is doing a good job. We like it the way it is. but we didn't. So we have to start looking at ourselves and we have to start questioning, where are we right now with our psychological and emotional intelligence? Where are we? I know a lot of people have had children and they are children themselves, psychologically and emotionally. Now, I'm not bashing anybody. That's not what I'm doing. I'm simply bringing light to something that perhaps maybe you didn't think of before. We have to start looking at ourselves, people. We have to. You cannot continue to look outside of yourself for people to come and take care of your issues. And we can't keep looking for God to take care of everything on this planet for us. What is that saying? God help those who help themselves. At what point are we going to take responsibility for the things that we have done so that we can start to heal and progress this planet to where it's supposed to be? And somebody please tell me, when are we going to take responsibility? Because I look at these children out here and they're hurting. They're hurting. They're lost. We have these children lost. It is sad and it's embarrassing. It's very embarrassing. And the only way we can help these children is to get ourselves together and do what we're supposed to be doing as adults. Whether you have children or not, you are still an example. So that means look at you. Look at you. What is the song by Michael Jackson? It's called The Man in the Mirror. I am talking to the man in the mirror. I am asking him to change his ways. You have to start looking at ourselves before we can start pointing fingers at anyone else. If you want to make the world, people, a better place, take a look at yourself, make a change. It always starts with us. It begins with us. It ends with us. So I implore you, my listeners, to look into arrested development. Perhaps maybe you have a form of arrested psychological development. Maybe something from your past have you stuck there. You can't get past it. You can't hold on to relationships on a personal level, intimate level, meaning friendship level, maybe your family. We can't keep blaming outside forces. At some point, we have to look at ourselves. And it doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt to do that. It doesn't cost you a thing, and it doesn't hurt anyone else. The only thing it can do is make you a better version of you. Now, it is hard to do. I will not. When you're on that path to healing, it is not easy, but it is worth it. It is absolutely worth it. To become a better part of you, or a version of you rather, how can you go wrong with that? Then you keep climbing on that path, keep going, keep moving. This is how I know when people are reached a certain level of emotional maturity, when you are there. I remember I was watching the Oprah Winfrey show back in the day, and she had Puffy on, and Puffy had just walked or ran. Then he ran a marathon, and he was telling Oprah his goal was to bypass her, beat her record, or run longer than what she did, right? And Oprah's response was good. That's what I want you to do. There was no jealousy. There was no pushback. There was nothing like that. It was, yes, I want you to become the better version of you. And that's how we're supposed to be with each other. That's how we're supposed to be in this world. That's what you're supposed to be teaching your children. Take the good values that you have learned, pass it on to them, but tell them to take it to the 10th level. Don't stop and have them to teach their children to take it to the 20th level. Can't go wrong with that. That's how you know that emotional maturity is a part of you, is that you want to see everybody else be the same way. So it's time for us to do an emotional intelligence test. Begin to heal people. We can't keep procrastinating. At some point, we're going to have to start doing this. That's all I have for today. Name of the game today is arrested psychological development. Look into it, think about it, contemplate it, and see, does it match up with you? Take out that time, go into nature, take a drive, think, go to somewhere quiet. Even if you go to the library and read a book, do that. Really consider it. Doesn't mean anything wrong with you. It just means you want to see that better part of you. And that is the podcast for today. Again, if you have it in your heart to share your journey of healing, why don't you go ahead and give me an email? Send me an email so we can go ahead and get this phone conversation started. So we can share it with everybody else. How about that? All right. Well, thank you. I want you all to have a wonderful and prosperous day. Take care, my friends. Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to the Seriously Speaking podcast. Make sure to tune in next week. If you would like to listen to the podcast on YouTube, go to Seriously Speaking Podcast. And to get in touch with LaShawn, please contact her at email address syrian_speaks@yahoo.com. subscribe to the YouTube channel, and hit the like button.